merry meet, and welcome to our stream, everybody. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. This is a general reading for all signs for today, the 15th of September 2023. Moderating on YouTube is the lovely Jennifer, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Dre. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Dre, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. If you are watching on YouTube on a restream, you can fast forward through the shuffling if you don't want to watch it. Just use the timestamp in the video description. Today I'm reading with this Trionfi della Luna in its beautiful deck. Let's purify with this 4711 Cologne, one of the old standard traditional Eaux de Cologne. Eau de Cologne. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So this goes out to a lot of people. So if for some reason it doesn't seem to apply to you, just disregard it because it may not be meant for you. In that case, check out the zodiacal readings for your own individual sun sign, rising sign, and or moon sign. And you can find all of those restreams very easily on my website, ariels-corner.com, Ariel's Corner with a hyphen.com. Just click on the free online tarot readings link in the main menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. If you are watching on Twitch, please make sure you follow us on Twitch, and you can watch on Twitch ads-free when you subscribe to us. We have a shop at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com. That's lists and lists of wonderful products, and those are all affiliate links. We make a small commission off of each and every sale. We do appreciate your support. Another way to support us is by sending a donation, and you can do that by going to paypal.me/arielgatoga. paypal.me/arielgatoga. Another way to give a donation is on YouTube. You could use a super sticker or super chat if you're live, or a super thanks if you're on a restream. I don't read with card reversals, that's what I was going to tell you, so I will flip cards right side up if they come out upside down. It's just my way of reading. I prefer it that way. It works beautifully for me. So I wanted to let you know, just in case you were wondering what the heck. Alright, I think I'm doing okay. I'm sure I forgot something, but it's okay. You know the gist. Let's get going with this reading. Let's do one more shuffle. Give the deck a nice clean cut. See what's in the cards for everybody today. This is a fun deck. All right, we start out with the Five of Swords. Next, we have the Queen of Wands, followed by the High Priest or the Hierophant. Okay, so the Five of Swords in the past has a lot of us who have had any kind of abuse pattern or anything like that, any kind of bullying, abuse, those kinds of things in our past. A lot of times it's very challenging, even though we think we're over it, to not see the world through the lens of being abused. And that means that we look out at everything with the expectation. And again, this is not often conscious, because many times we think, "Oh yes, I've gone through that, and I'm over that. I've healed that." But sometimes not. Sometimes we look out at the world through the lens of an abused person, and we expect more abuse in the future. And the way that our minds work is that you can either you either create an abusive situation for yourself if you're doing that, or you assume something's abusive when it's not, or you make somebody abuse you that normally wouldn't just because you drive them to it. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying, we're not blaming victims here. I'm talking about those of us that are from a history of abuse that aren't currently in an abusive situation, can turn a current situation into something based on what we're expecting if we're not careful. So when that comes up, I like to remind us that, for one thing, you're innocent. You didn't deserve what you went through, whatever it was, no matter what. I know for myself, it took me so long to really kind of come to that conclusion, because I really felt like my abuse was my fault. And I really, said, well, I know that it's not supposed to be my fault, but I know it was. It took me a long time to get to that point. And it takes as long as it takes. But in the meantime, even if you're not at that point yet where you realize that you didn't deserve it, that it wasn't right, that you didn't create that reality for you, you have to be careful of superimposing those old beliefs over your current reality. Because what that'll do is it'll tend to make you want to either not move forward with certain creativity that it's important for you, or it will make you move forward with certain creativity or certain jobs or something like that, but not in a healthy way. It's where you like dive into work in order to avoid feeling what you're feeling, So either way, you got to be careful that you don't allow the old abuse to color your reality. And I know I'm harping on that, but it's such an important topic here that until you get to the point where you realize that you didn't deserve it, that it wasn't okay, you can't ultimately forgive the abuse that happened. And until you can forgive the abuse that happened, you are very predisposed to projecting that onto your current experience, even though you may not believe that that's what you're doing. So as a result, this card, this High Priest card, is all about when any kind of authority figure comes into your midst, you oftentimes will treat yourself like a bad child, like somehow you deserve what's going on. And sometimes these authority figures are wrong. Sometimes these authority figures don't have a right to treat you the way they're treating you, or the people that you are perceiving as authority figures, they don't. And you don't want to fall into that role of like, okay, I'm the naughty child, and this is the parent, this is the surrogate parent, and I guess they can just do whatever they want to me. No, they can't. No, they can't. They're not allowed to do that, but it's got to come from you. You've got to learn how to stand up to yourself about this. It's not even so much standing up to them, because until you understand that they don't have a right to do that to you, that standing up to them isn't even a thing. You have to stand up to yourself and say, no, I didn't deserve that, and I don't need to recreate that abuse cycle anymore. I don't need to be a part of that. I wash my hands of this. I forgive myself completely. And self-forgiveness can be so challenging for us, because a lot of times as an abuse victim, if that's really what you are, if most of who I'm talking to, I think today, are probably abuse victims. If you're an abuse victim, it's like wearing cologne. After like 5 minutes, you don't smell it, but everybody else does. You don't even realize how you're punishing yourself, how you're accepting less for yourself, because it's just the role that you've fallen into as a victim of abuse. And you have to just be really diligent with yourself and understand that you don't have to be the abuser now to yourself. You don't need to take up that role. You don't need to be hard on yourself. You don't need to be mean to yourself. You don't need to prove to yourself anything like that. You need to get to the point where you can accept your innocence. Accept it. You didn't deserve anything that you got. None of it. None of it was your fault. No, I don't care what anybody says or what you think. None of it was your fault. It was just sick behavior. All right, so then we've got this beautiful Ace of Cups, this beautiful Page of Coins, and this Magician card. See, the Magician on top of the Hierophant. What that's doing is that's you trying to play the shell game. Because that's what abuse victims do. They play the shell game. Make sure that everybody's entertained. Make sure everybody's happy. Make sure nobody's upset about anything. Make sure that I distract everybody so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. We don't have to deal with whoever the abuser is going off anymore. And so that's the game that we play, abuse victims play with any perceived authority figure. We don't allow ourselves to just stand up and just say, well, this is me. This is my life. This is who I am. And this is what you're getting. I don't need to placate you. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to approve of me. In fact, it's none of my business what you think of me. And that gives you more power to overcome any problems that you have with these perceived authority figures, because if you're still perceiving them in such a way that you're afraid that they might be some kind of an abuser, and again, this happens very frequently below the conscious level of understanding, if you're still doing that, then you're never going to allow yourself to be free, and you're always going to be playing the shell game. You're always going to be trying to get somebody to like you, trying to get somebody to think you're okay. Why? Because that's the way that the child learned how to protect themselves from whatever the abuse happened to be. Whether it was physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, it doesn't matter. It all is abusive. It all hurts just the same. But the other thing that we do is we minimize for ourselves how that affected us. And we minimize ourselves in the presence of these people that we think are more powerful and important than we are. That's very classic. Now, what this is here, this page of cups and this this ace of cups and this page of coins are talking about the healing journey that many of you are on. And it's a beautiful healing journey that you're on. But that doesn't mean just because you've done some healing that you're done. Sometimes it's a very it's a process of courage to be able to stand up to yourself. And then you can stand up to your abusers or your perceived abusers because they don't have any more power over you. Because you've stood up to that tendency in yourself to say, well, they all have to like me, otherwise I might get hurt. No, they don't. No, they don't. They do not all have to like you. They do not all have to be nice to you or whatever this shell game that you're playing is. So, and all of that does is it does take some of this power away from this creative energy that we were talking about earlier. But you don't want to use your creative energy as a way to hide. Like we said, you don't want to just throw yourself into your work so that you don't deal with whatever this pattern is. But at the same time, you don't want to allow yourself to not have that creative power. So a lot of times what you can do, regardless of what your creative powers are, sometimes they are artistic, but sometimes it's work-oriented. You can use that creative energy to work through whatever these patterns are. Whatever these, which to me look very clearly like abuse patterns that you've been healing, but you can, like, say you are an artist, you can paint your way through it. If you're a singer, you can sing your way through it. You can write your way through it, and you can work your way through it too in building businesses and things like that. If you do it consciously rather than unconsciously, trying to avoid feeling what you're feeling by working too hard. Instead, you bring all of those abuse patterns with you and you work right through it. You use that creative energy to be a catalyst to stand up to those patterns in your own mind. Because that's what's really the courage, is standing up to the patterns in your mind and saying, I don't need to play this game. I don't. There's nothing about me that needs to be, that I need to be excused for. If you've ever done something to hurt somebody or any of that, sure, you make amends, you apologize, you own up to it, and then you move on. But you don't have to make excuses for who you are. You don't have to hope that people think you're good enough to not hit you or whatever that the underlying fear might happen to be. Because it doesn't come out. I mean, the electric company's not going to hit you, but if they're showing up as the authority figure, there is that idea that there's going to be abuse, so I better change who I am. I better not stand my ground, or whatever that happens to be. Maybe it's a boss, that's the authority figure that's triggering that old abuse pattern that's making you not want to be yourself because you're afraid, if I'm myself, I know how that works out. If I'm myself around an authority figure, I'm going to get hit, or I'm going to get abused. I'm going to get yelled at, something. Right? So be aware of that and stand up to that and allow yourself to be free, to be free from this constant need to hide from your own abuser. Your abuser doesn't have any more power over you. Now, if you're living in a place where you are in an abusive relationship, that's got to be taken care of. That's got to be taken care of. You got to remove yourself from that. But for the rest of us here that aren't in active abuse, we need to stand up to those patterns within ourselves that say it's not safe to be myself. All right, because that abuse is still living inside that little child's mind. And until we take care of that little kid by saying, no, I'm not gonna abuse you anymore by pretending like you're not there, or by pretending that I have to hide you, or that you're not good enough, so I'm gonna change myself. No, this is who I am. This is who I am, and I'm not changing. In fact, I'm happy with who I am, and I'm not afraid of you. All right, we've got some great work to do today. Stay on top of being who you are. You don't owe anybody changing who you are. I will see everybody tomorrow for another general reading. Thank you so much to the amazing moderators, Jennifer and Dre. We'll see you all tomorrow. Blessed be.